Breaking free from the narcissist was one of your best decisions. Imagine finding yourself in a golden cage. From the outside, everything appears perfect, with an environment that seems safe, filled with attention and affectionate words. It may seem like a privilege, but inside, there are invisible bars that wound more than iron ones. It's an emotional prison, much like a bird that once soared high but now feels its wings weakening. You receive crumbs of love when it suits those around you, making you feel special, only to be reminded that without them, you are worth nothing. Every time you dream of flying, someone shuts the door. Over time, you forget that you were born to soar. Nature teaches us that a bird, after being in captivity for too long, often hesitates to fly out even when the cage is open, not because it can't, but because it has learned to depend on its captor. This is also true when trapped in toxic relationships with a narcissist. They manipulate you with silences, confusing flattery, and guilt that prick like invisible needles. They make you doubt yourself, your intuition, and your worth. However, there is a way out. No contact. It's not just about blocking someone. It's about breaking the emotional bond that keeps you trapped. It's affirming to yourself, I am no longer available for this narcissistic manipulation. This is the first step towards your spiritual transformation, to rediscover the strong and radiant woman who, although wounded, is still alive within you. If you've ever felt like you can't escape, with every attempt turning into a broken promise, guilt, or sadness pulling you back, stay with me. Today, I will show you how to implement no contact clearly and decisively without guilt. In the end, I will give you the key to liberating yourself from the narcissist, one of your best decisions. Even if you feel shattered, exhausted, or drained, remember that your true nature is to soar, and I will guide you on how to break free from a toxic relationship with a narcissist and heal from narcissistic abuse. Let's start exploring the concept of no contact. What is it exactly? It is not just about stopping communication, but it represents a measure of protection for your emotional well-being. It involves a complete interruption of any interaction after the end of a relationship with a person with narcissistic traits. This choice is not a punishment, but a fundamental resource to maintain your psychological integrity. It is not about indifference, but a process of liberation and recovery. It is a psychological strategy that allows you to distance yourself from the cycle of narcissistic manipulation and reconnect with yourself. But why is it so crucial? Authors like Dr. Craig Malkin in his book Rethinking Narcissism and a growing consensus in clinical psychology highlight that what binds us is not the idealization of what we thought it was. The difficulty in detaching comes from the hope of finding a version of yourself that did not feel constantly judged or in doubt about her perception of reality. It is essential to understand that clinging to a non-functional dynamic is like chasing an illusion, leading to greater emotional exhaustion and confusion. For this reason, it is vital to recognize the power of absence. By distancing yourself from the influence of a narcissistic person, their control mechanisms deactivate. The distance not only facilitates your liberation, but also hinders their need to dominate. It is important to remember that the bond is not based on genuine affection, but on what was defined by the pioneer of narcissism, San Bakunin, as their narcissistic minister. The emotional validation you provided is what creates the void in which their facade begins to crack. Initially, it may seem that your absence has no effect. However, often this is just an illusion. They may try to make you believe that the relationship was insignificant. Over time, however, the lack of contact irritates and unsettles them, leading them to think, how could she leave? Why isn't she trying to contact me? Freeing yourself from the narcissist was one of your best decisions, a step towards your spiritual transformation, and a way to heal from narcissistic abuse and emotional dependency. Without the usual source of approval, those with narcissistic traits may feel restless in their attempts to win you back, often masking their manipulation with apparent remorse. It is crucial to recognize that such behaviors do not stem from affection, but from a need to reaffirm their power. Experts like Dr. Ramani Durvasula, author of Samudha or Sudigayo, highlight how victims of toxic relationships with narcissists remain trapped due to intermittent reinforcement. This pattern, which alternates rewards and punishments unpredictably, creates an emotional dependency similar to substance addiction. Every positive gesture, no matter how insignificant, is misinterpreted as a sign of affection, while it is part of a control dynamic. In this context, no contact emerges as the most effective strategy to break the cycle and promote your healing from narcissistic abuse. It is essential to understand that no contact is not a maneuver to make them come back, nor a revenge tactic, but a way to protect yourself and heal. It is a therapeutic tool to rebuild yourself after a toxic relationship. Establishing this distance is crucial. The most significant change does not occur when the narcissist does not ask for permission to destroy you. It is essential for your mental health, as continuous contact with a narcissist can wear you down, leaving you exhausted and confused. By distancing yourself, you begin to recognize your worth outside of manipulation. Furthermore, this allows you to open the door to new opportunities. Without the negative influence of a narcissist, you can finally focus on yourself and your future. Remember, no contact is an act of love towards yourself, a step towards freedom and healing. Are you ready to take this decisive step? The narcissist does not seduce you with promises, but consumes you when you least expect it. No matter how much you try to extinguish them, there is always a smoldering ember ready to reignite. Therefore, the only way to protect yourself is to completely distance yourself. Establishing distance is not cowardice, but a matter of survival. Freeing yourself from the narcissist was one of your best decisions. The best part is that in the end, you will understand that you are not the cause of the problem. Secondly, freeing yourself from the narcissist was one of your best decisions, as they do not seek love, but only adoration. To them, you are a source of water that must never run dry. But what happens when you decide to turn off the tap? They despair, manipulate you, and try to come back with deceptive promises. However, the issue is about you. Stopping contact is the only way to deprive them of power and regain your peace of mind. Remember, those who only seek you when they need something do not deserve you when you have so much to offer. Thirdly, to free yourself from emotional dependency and intermittent reinforcement, imagine being a mouse in an experiment. Sometimes you receive a reward, other times a punishment, but you never know when it will happen. This creates a gambling addiction, which represents the narcissist's intermittent reinforcement. They offer you crumbs of affection to keep you trapped. But ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped playing? Take back control. No contact is the only antidote to this psychological trap, because you deserve constant love, not one that flickers on and off at their whim. Fourth, to avoid falling into their trap repeatedly, remember that the narcissist returns not for love, but to feel powerful. First, they ignore you, then they try to sweeten you up, and if you do not fall for it, they will try to make you feel guilty. Do not forget, the snake sheds its skin, but remains a snake, as many testimonies and clinical analyses demonstrate. If you have already tried to distance yourself and ended up trapped again, it is time for a definitive closure. No contact is not a pause, but an act of love towards yourself. Close the door, reinforce the locks, and most importantly, do not look back. What awaits you is your freedom. Now, what happens in the mind of a narcissist when you apply no contact? When you decide to distance yourself, something stirs within them. But do not be mistaken. It is not love or remorse, but pure frustration. This process does not happen immediately, but develops in phases. In the first phase, they feel like the king of the world. At first, the narcissist feels relief. The narcissist sees themselves as the master of the situation, viewing you as just a piece on their chessboard, ready to be moved at their whim. They will likely showcase their new life on social media, surrounded by admirers and with a fake smile, convinced they made the right choice. But, my friend, this is just a deception, as what matters is what happens next. In phase 2, they wonder why you are not contacting them. When they do not receive your messages, their ego wavers. In their mind, you are still an option, a spare part to be retrieved, but no contact destroys this illusion. The narcissist needs constant validation, and realizing that their source of supply, namely you, is depleted, they begin to feel uncomfortable. Have you ever seen a child despair over losing their favorite toy? Phase 3 arrives when distractions no longer work, and even their new source cannot fill the void you left. Here, no contact shows its true power. Your silence forces them to confront their greatest fear, the loss of control. They expected your pleas and messages, but receiving nothing, that silence weighs more than any insult. In phase 4, they may attempt to return, not out of love, but to restore their dominance over you. Do not misunderstand. If they come back, it is not to make amends, but to prove they can still influence you. Now ask yourself, will you fall into the trap? No contact is your winning weapon, the true checkmate in this mental game. Do not try to hurt them, but to free yourself. Move forward, brave woman. Let silence do its work, and remember that the best response to a narcissist is the one that never comes. Here, silence is not indifference, but a refusal. That discomfort that creeps into their thoughts, that echo that resonates in the mind of the narcissist when your absence becomes a shadow that haunts them. Freeing yourself from the narcissist was one of your best decisions, a step towards your spiritual transformation. At first, the narcissist tries to convince themselves that your absence does not affect them, distracting themselves and surrounding themselves with new people to fill the void you left. However, that void is not just a space, but a presence, your absence. The more evident your lack becomes, the greater their inner discomfort. Time does not lessen your absence, but intensifies it, like rain eroding stone. The distance becomes unbearable for them. The mind, like an illusionist, plays with memories. The hindsight bias, well documented in psychology, distorts reality. As time passes, the narcissist's memory alters the story, magnifying the moments when they felt powerful and minimizing their failures and vulnerabilities. This happens because the brain seeks to protect the ego, favoring memories that reinforce its image. Thus, your mind whispers to you that you were necessary, but in reality, you were just dependent on their attention. Consequently, what was once a problematic relationship now takes on a nostalgia cue, not out of love for you, but for the narcissistic supply you represented. When your absence becomes an unfillable void, the narcissist can no longer ignore it. Their world wavers, realizing that you are no longer present and that you are moving on. But you? Will you return to the cycle or break the chains? Absence hurts, but going back is destructive. Ask yourself what you will do when the narcissist tries to fill the void you have painstakingly overcome. When you decide to distance yourself, there are only two possibilities, both revealing. If you were just one of many to them, the breakup will be an emotionless transition. There will be no mourning, introspection, or regret. They will simply change targets like changing channels on TV. In this case, if they do not seek you out, it is not out of willpower, but because they have found another source of validation. Freeing yourself from the narcissist was one of your best decisions, a step towards your spiritual transformation. Learning how to exit a relationship with a narcissist is essential to heal from narcissistic abuse and overcome emotional dependency. Recognizing the signs of a toxic relationship is crucial to addressing toxic relationships and finding a way out. Super grazie. Before proceeding and revealing how to apply no contact and free yourself forever, I want to express my sincere gratitude for being here with me. If you feel that this video is bringing value to your life, I invite you to support the channel with a small donation through the Super Thanks button, which you can find below the video. Even the smallest gesture represents a precious energy that allows us to continue with passion and gratitude. Now, let's continue together. If you notice their indifference, do not be fooled. It is not strength, but disinterest. This, as painful as it is the signal that no contact is working for you. If you have been a valuable resource, the situation changes as your distance begins to make noise for them, an unbearable noise. Suddenly, they realize they have lost something they did not want to let go of, not out of love, but because they need you to maintain their fragile ego. They begin to doubt. What if they were wrong? What if you have already forgotten them? Negative experiences fade from their mind as if they never existed. Conflicts dissolve, moments of admiration resurface, and the urgency to regain control over you becomes their new obsession. But beware, it is not love, it is fear. Fear of losing power, fear that you might be happy without them. At this point, you have two paths. Open your eyes and stand firm in your decision, or fall into the trap of their return and return to the vicious cycle of toxic relationships. Remember, time is on your side. The more steadfast you are, the closer you get to your true freedom. The narcissist can forget many things, but they will never forget the woman who dared to close the door on them. How can you tell if no contact with a narcissist is working? The first thing you will notice is a change in yourself. Your mind stops focusing on what the narcissist does or does not do. You no longer check their profile or look for traces of them in your daily life. And so, something unexpected happens. You return to being yourself. When no contact is total, power shifts. Your self-esteem begins to grow, and your well-being becomes a priority. The narcissist ceases to be a giant in your mind and becomes what they have always been, a mirage. You begin to build new experiences and surround yourself with people who truly appreciate you. You realize that the narcissist was never the center of your life. They only made you believe otherwise. The fear of letting go is what holds you back. Here lies the true dilemma. Letting go is not difficult, even though it is necessary. Often, what binds you is not love, but fear. The fear of the unknown, of loneliness, and of not finding something better can be overwhelming. But ask yourself, can you really lose what does not belong to you? The narcissist was never yours. They only created an illusion. If you have already felt that it was time to let go, it means that relationship has not been nourishing you for a long time. When something stops supporting you, the only way is to let it go to grow. If you have to beg for love, it means you have already lost it. If someone makes you doubt your worth, if you are the only one fighting for the relationship and feel emotionally alone, you have already left. It is just your heart that needs to accept it. Do not be afraid to distance yourself, because what is meant for you will never need your absence to recognize you. If your presence was not appreciated, your absence should not hurt you, as authentic love is shared while a narcissist uses. Close the door without fear, for there is nothing to regret. If you have come this far, it means you are ready to let go. Do you feel that tingling in your chest? It is not doubt, it is freedom approaching. The real danger is not loneliness, but remaining trapped in the web of a narcissist. Do not fear being alone, but rather fear being the shadow of someone who shines only at your expense. What is the point of having company if you feel invisible? If you stay where you are just a source of validation, you will lose yourself. Is it really worth it? Listen to that intuition telling you to leave, that feeling in your chest, and that knot in your throat every time they belittle you. They are signals. Ignoring them is like trying to cover the sun with a finger. Putting an end is not easy, but it is necessary. Clinging to someone who sees you only as a reflection of their greatness would prolong a suffering you do not deserve. Distancing yourself is not a reaction to their indifference, but a declaration of love for yourself, because in the end, what a narcissist does or thinks is no longer your problem. Do not become a trophy in someone's collection of failures. Do not accept being someone's plan B who does not consider you a priority. You deserve more, someone who recognizes your worth from the start. You do not need someone who only notices you after losing you. Those who truly love you take care of you, while those who feed on your suffering can never love you. Do you really want to stay where you have never been a priority? When life invites you to free yourself from the narcissist, follow its advice. If the universe sends you signals to distance yourself, do not hesitate. It is not a coincidence. It is a necessary closure to let something better in. Sometimes, losing someone is the first step towards your spiritual transformation. What seems like a loss today will be your greatest victory tomorrow. So move forward and trust, because what is meant for you will never question your worth. Learning how to exit a toxic relationship with a narcissist is essential to heal from narcissistic abuse and overcome emotional dependency. Recognizing the signs of a toxic relationship is the first step to getting out. If you want to receive daily messages of awakening, rebirth, and healing to bring your rebirth and liberation to life, we are waiting for you on Telegram. The link is in the description. Outro. Finally, I would love to hear your story. If you found this message resonates with you, please share your thoughts in the comments. What aspect made you reflect the most? How has this message touched you? Your experience could be the guiding light another woman needs to break free from the narcissist, one of the best decisions possible. If you want more content on how to transform a toxic relationship into a spiritual transformation, subscribe and turn on notifications. Here, we value your emotions, and your future holds something far more fulfilling for you. Warm regards, and see you soon.